I finished my 2023 TBR because I'm better than you. No, it's because I've only had 15 books on my list. Here were the books that I set out to read at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, I'll go through like all the lists, and sci-fi books by African authors or whatever. Those lists. And so I'll go through them and I'll read the summaries and I'll see, what appeals to me, and then I'll put them on the list. And so this is the result of that. The other reason why I've already finished my 2023 TBR is because I didn't finish almost half of them. Let me start with the ones I did finish. Before we start, here's my rating system, just so we're all clear. So, books I gave 4 stars to. The first 4-star book was Hide, and this was a police procedural set in contemporary Chicago, USA, and it was pretty good. We follow a detective, Harriet, as she tries to find a killer. I liked how this was not like propaganda, and I liked how it didn't also shy away from, I think the author is a black woman. I don't know. The book didn't shy away from having, Black Lives Matter conversations, conversations about law enforcement abusing their power. It was good. The way that the murderer was caught is very true to real life. That's all I'm gonna say. And that's what makes it like not propaganda. I think this is how people are caught in real life. Not with like any silly CSI, like a genius detective. No, this is how it happens in real life. This is how murderers are caught in real life. And I like that. I don't have much to say. I liked the main character. She was alright. She's a detective in a police procedural book. I like this book a lot, but it did teach me that, you know what? I like a good police procedural, but not in this medium. I'll stick to TV. I'll stick to rewatching Rizzoli and Isles and like Bones and like Law and Order Criminal Intent, which is the best Law and Order. Fight me. Then I read The Bookshop and the Barbarian. This is a recent-ish read. This is a funny, cozy mystery that is a cozy mystery, but is also a parody of a cozy mystery, and it actually made me laugh, which... wow. The humor is self-referential and meta. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, and there are a lot of like little parodies of like actual books in the book itself. It was cute, it was fun, and it's not for everybody, and honestly it wasn't for me either, but I had a great time. It came at the right time for me. I needed something like this. Then I also read The Niger Wife. I keep wanting to say The Niger Wife, but in the book they call themselves the Niger Wives. The Niger Wives are women from all over the world who leave their family and friends and support systems behind and go to Nigeria to marry rich Nigerian men. Our main character is one such woman who did that. She's Jamaican English, I think, and she did that. She left her family and friends in England and went to Nigeria, and now she's gone missing. So her aunt comes from England and she's like, what's going on? Why does it look like no one is investigating? What's happening? So she comes to try and figure out what happened to her niece. Where is she? To try and find her. We have 2 storylines. We have current day with Auntie as she, tries to find her niece, and then the other storyline is sort of the niece doing stuff and her life and seeing the lead up to her disappearance. I enjoyed this, but I understand why the rating is what it is on Goodreads. Hopefully I remember to put it up somewhere. This had a very catfishy pitch. Right, this is more of like a general fiction, literary fiction book about like generational trauma, lit fic things, generational trauma, that sort of thing, more than it is like a thriller suspense book. There is a mystery, but it's more of that sort of tough familial relations, family drama stuff. It's more of that than it is a thriller. So I think if you go into it knowing that, then you'll enjoy yourself. I went into this thinking it was going to be more thrillery, more suspenseful, more action-packed than it was, but I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed my reading experience. The ending, I liked it. I liked the ending because it was foreshadowed. If you've read the book and you're like, what was that ending? There was foreshadowing for the ending, so I didn't mind it. It didn't come out of nowhere. Do I have anything else to say about the Niger Wife? No, I don't. The only thing I have to say is maybe don't leave your entire support system behind to follow a man. I don't know. That's what maybe. Finally, the last 4 star is The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is also another recent issue read. This is a action thriller. It reminded me of like a slasher flick from the 80s and 90s, but very twisty. The twists are very silly. Everything makes sense. I think the writing is very clever. I think that there are some characters that are a bit cartoony, but then it makes sense in the context of the book, but also in the context of the world that we live in, because there's currently, at the time of filming, some drama of an author being very weird and creepy in a way that is very much like the character in this book. So when you start reading this, you're like, Taylor Adams, now you've made this guy way too much of a caricature of 4chan Reddit white dudes. But these people exist in real life. And also it makes sense in the context of the book. So I enjoyed this very much. It made me anxious in a very good way. Just could have done with fewer flashbacks to our boring main character and her boring husband and their boring lives. Now onto the 3-star books, and these are books that were just okay. They were alright. The first one is The Blighted Stars. This was a science fiction that I was really looking forward to, and it did let me down a lot because there was more romance in this than I thought there would be, and I thought there would be no romance in this. If I had known, I would not have picked this up. I don't like this type of romance in this type of context, but alas. Anyway, this is a sci-fi mystery / thriller, and also like a survival book, a survival thriller in a sort of dystopian-esque world. This is set in the far future, and this has that typical like modern space opera world. And here the oligarchs that run everything are split up into different family houses, I guess. They're comically evil. I liked when we switched back to that perspective, because it was a break from the two main characters who were like flirting with each other, really annoying me like a lot with their romance. The thing about this book is there's a very interesting story in here somewhere about a wanted woman in disguise who has to live amongst her enemies, and they're all trapped in this weird survival situation. But that interesting story is disrupted by a very, very, very bad romance. Like, it's really bad. It's bad. They have no chemistry. And also the action will stop just for her to be like, oh my god, he's so hot, so hot. Oh my god. And I'm just like, oh my god, girl, your life is in danger. Can you take this seriously? Your life is in danger. Yeah, that was my main gripe with this. There were some interesting things, but again, just anytime anything interesting would happen, it would get disrupted by a terrible romance. I liked the geology stuff, and there weren't really that many fun, new, interesting sci-fi ideas or a creative spin on old ideas. It was just it's a YA romance in a dystopian sci-fi world. I also read Rose House, and Rose House is a sci-fi mystery novella about an AI house that has a body in it. And that's weird because nobody is allowed in this house. The owner of the house, when he died, was like, nobody is allowed here except for one person for 1 week in the year, and she wasn't there when the body was found. That sounds interesting, but this book really is a book for people who want philosophical musings on, I don't know, art and creativity and creation, I guess. This is not a book for you if you want just like a good murder mystery set in like the near future in an unusual setting. No. I only really finished this book because I wanted to know what happens to one of our cop characters. I was really skimming. I was like, oh, what happens to you, girl? Oh my god. And also because it was short. All right, now these are the books that I loved. These are the 5-star books. These are my girls. The first one is The Maid's Diary, and I have a video in which I spoke about this book. No spoilers, I won't spoil it here. This is a mystery thriller about a maid with a snooping addiction, and she snoops her way into trouble. I spoke about it at length in my other video, so I won't go into details, but I liked the journey. If you're somebody whose enjoyment rides on whether or not you are surprised by a twist or twists, then this book is maybe not for you. I think you might guess what's going on, but I enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed the things that this book was saying. I enjoyed the writing. I liked the setting. I enjoyed our main character. I think she was amazing, and I liked everything that was being said by this book, and I liked how the subject matter was treated by this author. So yeah, Great book. My only other 5-star is a non-fiction book, and this was Trust the Plan. Blah 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 that hinged America, blah blah blah. This is a book about QAnon and like Q crazies. I also spoke about this in my mid-year roundup. I'll put it up somewhere. This is a great book. I liked the investigative journalism style that this was written in. I liked the interviews. I really feel like I understand the what, why, and how after reading this book, and I think, great job. The writing, very easy to read. It's like a very good investigative journalism piece, and it was also kind of entertaining. Not the parts where people's lives were ruined. Great, loved it. Great book. I have no 2 stars and no 1 stars, and I think that tells me that I'm good at giving up on books. And now these are all the 2023 TBR books I didn't finish. I'm just gonna blitz through these. Blitz round. Splinter in the Sky. This was a space opera. Again, it had that setting that I'm extremely bored of. It's our world, but like worse. I'm tired of this type of world. I need publishers to start finding books with different settings and different ideas. Colonization is bad, guys. Like, I think we get it. I think at this point, if you don't understand that colonization is bad, then like, I don't know. I'm ready for a different setting. I'm ready for a different type of world. I'm ready for different types of characters. I've had enough. It's the same thing over and over again. This was another one I was disappointed by. I really wanted to like this, but it just bored me. There was nothing here to grip me in the book. The characters or the world, there was just nothing. So yeah. Then I tried Translation State. I read a lot of this book, but like not really, because I was only reading one chapter. I was reading the aliens chapters. That's the only thing that was interesting. I don't know if this is because it's the 5th book in the series, but yeah, only the alien perspective was interesting until that stopped being interesting. But the other ones I had no interest in whatsoever. I had no interest in the murder mystery. I think maybe if you are like involved, if you are already sort of interested in or engrossed in the world, then maybe you might find some enjoyment in this, but I am not, and I didn't. So then we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This one I got a bit into, maybe 30%. Is that true? I don't know. I stopped reading when the guy got sick, and then he got better, and then nothing happened after that. I was like, oh, so nothing's happening in this book? Interesting. I think that this book needed more structure and a plot. Cozy fantasy still has a plot. Like, it's just, the plot is just low stakes, but there's still something happening. It's not just people just talking. The characters weren't strong enough to just kind of exist. They did need to be doing something. I stopped reading when we got to the point where the plot was being revealed, where I started understanding what we were actually going to do. This is after he gets sick, and this is after a lot of nothing happens. I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that. That's not interesting at all. This man already annoys me, and the woman also, and I don't care about seeing him succeed. So I hated everybody in this book except for the villagers, especially the main character. I hated Emily Wilde. You are supposedly a very smart woman, right? Like, you're very clever, but you didn't think, hey, I'm gonna be relying on these people and this village for food and shelter through a winter. You know what I should do? I should pop on over to the anthropology department at this university that I work in. Check out some ethnographic studies about this village. Maybe take a gander. Maybe look up their customs and their culture. Maybe do the barest minimum of research to avoid preventable social faux pas. Like, you're supposed to be really smart, but you didn't think to do that. You did it. Like, oh my god, I was not on board. It really annoyed me. She reminded me of, like, the worst type of tourist. Yeah. Every time they gave her like burnt bread and like just a really horrible dodgy meal, I was like, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Then the guy, who I'm assuming is gonna be the love interest, he was also very annoying. He was just annoying in his own way. He didn't do anything for himself. He just comes over and takes over everything, and Emily's like, oh yeah, okay. Very meek about it. Just like, oh god, I hate it. I realized this book made me realize that I don't like reading books about socially inept people, especially when it's preventable like this. Like, this was just a trip down to the anthropology department, reading 1 or 2 pages, and then that's it. I cannot. On Earth as It Is in Television, and this has a fun name, and it also had marketing around it that promised a fun, good time. And so I opened this book, and guess what fun stuff is going on in this book? Just guess. You had 2 teenagers running away from home to escape a physically and sexually abusive relationship. Oh, and then guess what happens after that? They fall off a cliff and one of them dies. So much fun. And the other one is paralyzed. So much fun. Such a fun book. Like what? Like
First contact stories have never been as intoxicating and fun.
also, this was way too character driven for me. Housewoman is a very bleak family drama. And this was marketed as a thriller. There was nothing suspenseful about this. This was like real life. This is like about human trafficking. This book is about a Nigerian woman who gets mail order brided, basically, by the Nigerian American parents, US America, by the parents of an unsuspecting man. He doesn't know. He just comes home one day and she's there. And she's like, I'm gonna be your wife. And this is her story of her being trapped in this house and being abused by these people. You know what I thought? I thought she was gonna get in there and just like mess them up, just like ruin their lives, you know? But instead of that, like I said, this is just a very real story of human trafficking with some very silly reveals sprinkled in. I stopped reading after about the third mention of his stinky penis. Then finally, the book My Murder is another one I didn't finish. And My Murder, this is about a woman who is murdered and then effectively brought back to life by being cloned. Now, the marketing teases a mystery, but it's not. You know immediately who killed her. This is not a mystery. This is not a thriller. This is about a woman coming to this is a woman coming to terms with being a clone. The summary says, oh, she has to solve her own murder. No, she doesn't. We know who killed her. We know immediately who killed her. This is just a drama about a cloned woman coming to terms with being a clone. There's no tension. There's no drama. Just a baby who hates her and, you know, group therapy sessions. So that's it. My takeaway from this is that I am good at not finishing books. Like the fact that I have no 2-star and 1-star books is because of that. Because I know if I finished any of these books that I didn't finish, I know I would not have liked them. What's my other takeaway? My other takeaways, please start writing different worlds for science fiction. Oh my god, I'm tired. I'm so tired. There's a lot of catfishing when it comes to thrillers. A lot of general fiction stuff being marketed as a thriller when there's nothing thrilling about them. That's weird. That's a weird thing that you're doing, publishers. Maybe stop doing that. I don't know. Bye.